Yeah, it's the traditionalist mindset is not stuck with the younger generation as much as maybe it once did.
Okay.
There's the there are, I think, more and more people like around my age. I'm 26, who grew up in that kind of world and are starting to shed it a little bit.
Yeah.
You'll see if you've interacted with the movement online or whatever, you'll see that a lot of the discourse is dominated by people who maybe have discovered it within the last couple of years.
Mhm.
But the ones who have been raised in it, from the late 90s, early 2000s, we're starting to kind of see that maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Mhm.
My sister was still in St. Mary's Academy for a while, and even she was saying how her classmates were kind of giving some pushback on some of the narrative, the talking points that were taught in their religion classes. Like even high schoolers are starting to see like that doesn't quite make sense.
Mhm.
And now that's with SSPX issues, which are different, and we'll get into. But
Right.
yeah, the world of traditionalism, I guess, is um, there's some turnover. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Because I've definitely run into that in my own experience of meeting people, that the younger people who were raised in it, they don't usually stay.
No.
And so that's really interesting because their parents are so convicted that this is what you need. Like, if we don't do this, you're not going to be raised with good formation or whatever. And then
Mhm.
it's like they grow up and they're kind of disillusioned. And then they're like, there's actually more than this. And so, yeah, what you're saying is just good because I think there's a lot of people out there that can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I got some notes here to kind of hit more on that topic, but
Yeah.
it does seem like a generational thing. My wife and I have discussed this, where our parents' generation and the generation before that, who were really in the midst of all the big shakeup, 50 years ago or something.
Yeah.
They're really attached to this, and they see this as kind of their anchor. And but the rest of us who did not experience the weirdness of the 70s and 80s, and
Mhm.
who are seeing it as it is today, we're kind of like, guys, what are you talking about? It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's we,
It's
we
come a
don't
long way since.
we don't have these things anymore. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
No, I had a priest on yesterday. I think you were tuned into that, but he
Hmm.
was talking about how he's like, tell me where you can still find a church where there's any liturgical dance. And I
Right.
was like, yeah, I haven't heard of one like actually happening for like 20 years. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, it's somewhere it's possible, but I was just like, you're right. It's really on the way out. Even since I was a kid and, hearing stories of what my parents experienced, and they never, you know, went trad because of what they saw. But yeah, it was like, it definitely was a thing, but it's like, it was this like bubble that just kind of burst and then it
Hmm.
simmered down. So you're right. We're in a very different place as a church. Like things are getting a lot more stable, and the next generation of priests coming on are, by and large, I mean, any of them that I've met, they're very fervent and like liturgically minded, and they're orthodox, and it's like, ooh, we're getting into some good stuff. Like the
Yeah.
old liberal stuff that's literally dying. Like
Yep.
the old people are kind of the last vestiges, the few that still are like that, and they weren't all like that, but yeah,
Hmm.
they're going
No,
out.
yeah, certainly. I tell people all the time that we got inundated with these horror stories of clown masses and all these things, but I said I've been to quite a few Novus Ordo masses at quite a few different churches, and I have never experienced anything except strict by the rubrics celebration of the mass. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
there was a guitar at a mass one time. That's the only thing I can think of that made me kind of raise an eyebrow, but everything else was perfectly fine. I did not experience any of these aberrations that everyone tells you about. So
Okay.
I think that also helped to kind of to break the narrative in my mind a little bit. I was kind of like, you guys are telling me one thing, but I'm really not